What is up, everyone, and welcome to Men vs. Movies. I'm Griffin, as always, and today, keeping up with our February is Oscar month thing, we've got a new video for you, and of course, I'm not doing this alone. If you've watched the previous video, I am doing this in conjunction with Tyler Tompkins. So Tyler, say hello to everyone, even though they probably already know who you are.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man, and I'm excited that we're doing another Oscar video. I'm looking forward to all of them, but today in particular, this one's going to be a lot of fun, and it was really hard to put together.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you clicked on the video, then you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the top 5 Oscar wins of all time. Now, of course, there are so many wins that happen throughout the course of an Academy Awards show, so it was really hard to narrow down 5, but I think we were both able to do that. And it's also kind of difficult because we weren't alive during some of the ones back in the day, so you can only go off of what you know, what you've seen, and the results. But then the ones we have seen, we can be a little bit more passionate about because we saw it actually happen during the awards show.
Yeah. The way I approach my list, which is probably different from yours, which is totally okay, I based mine off of ceremonies that I have actually seen because that made it slightly easier for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely included a majority of those as well. There were a few that obviously I was not alive or was too young to witness that I put on the list simply because of just the impact that the winner had on there. So I've only got like 2 of those, I believe, but yes, for the most part, it's going to be based off of ceremonies that we have witnessed because those are the ones that we can really talk about more. So before we dive into the top 5s, we're going to give some honorable mentions. So Tyler, hit me with some honorable mentions that you may or may not have.
Okay, I'm going to hit you just with a few, and these are going to be ceremonies that I have not seen. I just want to include them because I do like these wins, even though I didn't get to witness them with my eyeballs. So the first one is going to American Beauty for pretty much everything that it won. I'm just really happy that movie won all that it did win. The next one is Titanic for winning everything that it won because I love that movie too, and even though I know you don't like it too much.
Well, as we know from the previous video, which if you have not watched the previous video, head on over to Tyler's channel. We discussed our top 10 Best Picture winners. It was a great time, so go check that out for sure.
And yes, and one other movie from that video as well is The Lord of the Rings. And the reason I put it on my honorable mentions is because, like we said in the previous video, it's incredible that a fantasy movie won that many Oscars, including Best Picture.
Absolutely. No, that's actually one of my honorable mentions as well, and I guess that's perfect time to segue into my honorable mentions. Yes, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King winning Best Picture was just awesome. I mean, for a lot of the reasons that we mentioned in the previous video, but just because it was the culmination of the entire trilogy, and they finally awarded it with Best Picture, so that was really nice. I do not have Leo winning Best Actor for The Revenant on my list, simply because even though it was well-deserved, it just barely missed the cut. I go back and forth between deciding on whether that was truly his best performance. I'm glad he won, but it wasn't one that I was like, oh, yeah, clearly it needs to be on the list. It just barely missed the cut. The other one I have is J.K. Simmons for Whiplash. I love that he won for that one, and I'm sure we'll get to that a little bit later on Tyler's list, but it once again barely missed the cut. Also, Birdman winning for Best Picture, I was ecstatic about that, couldn't put it on there. Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Jordan Hurwitz for La La Land, John Williams for Jaws. Oh, I mean, you want to talk about iconic, like, whew, oh boy. Apocalypse Now for Best Sound because that is a critical part of the movie. It is key in every aspect of the film. The sound really does enhance the film and draws you into it, so I was really happy to see that one was awarded with an Academy Award. And then lastly, I have Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood. That is the one that almost made my number 5 spot, but I had to go with something else. So those are all my honorable mentions. All right, let's dive into this list, Tyler. Talk about our top 5. What is your number 5, sir?
So my number 5 is Damien Chazelle for La La Land winning Best Director.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason it's not higher on this list is because it was kind of predictable. Like, we all knew that he was going to win Best Director.
I don't know, man. There was a moment there when I thought Barry Jenkins was going to have it. And, you know, as we saw Moonlight winning Best Picture, he very well could have had it. But yeah, I mean, you would have thought that, you know, Damien Chazelle was holding on to that for the longest time.
Yeah, and a lot of people were afraid of Barry Jenkins winning too. Sure. But to me, in my mind, it was always Best Picture was between Moonlight and La La Land. I always thought that was like the big battle. Unfortunately, La La Land winning Best Picture, that would definitely be on this list, but
Probably be number one.
yeah,
Yes.
it probably would. But I had to at least include Damien Chazelle on this list because I love that movie, and he's 2 for 2 right now. Both of his movies are on my top 10
Yeah.
of all time, and I'm really excited to see what he has in store for First Man, which is my most anticipated movie of the year. So maybe he can repeat what he did with La La Land. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I think the main reason why I didn't include him on this list is because he's still young. He's still got a very fruitful career ahead of him. I think the best is yet to come for him, and so because he's relatively new to the industry, there wasn't something that I felt like should be on this list.
Yeah, I know that's completely understandable.
All right, now it's time for my number 5. So my number 5, just barely edging out Daniel Day-Lewis from There Will Be Blood, is Marlon Brando for On the Waterfront. Now, he won back in 1955, beating out Humphrey Bogart for The Caine Mutiny, Bing Crosby for The Country Girl, James Mason for A Star Is Born, and Dan O'Harely, all right, I think I'm saying that right, for Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. You look at the nominees there, and it's pretty stacked. Like, we've got Humphrey Bogart, Bing Crosby, Marlon Brando. I mean, this is one hell of a year for Best Actor, but ultimately they gave it to the man that absolutely deserved it. Now, many people will go and say Marlon Brando, his win for The Godfather is one of the best wins of all time because of how he has such a small role, but he just elevates that film. Well, I would agree with that. I think if you look at Brando and you look at him in On the Waterfront, we see a man who is completely in tune with everything. I mean, this is textbook method acting. It's what Marlon Brando was known for, and I happen to believe that this is probably one of his best performances, if not his best performance. I mean, it's such a heartbreaking story about this guy who used to be a boxer. He kind of throws a fight, and his life just kind of spirals downwards, and he's filled with regret. And there's a lot of relatability to the character, and I think that Brando is just both heartbreaking, sincere, and very real in this role. It's no wonder why he won Best Actor. Marlon Brando is one of the greats, and this is probably one of his best roles. I encourage you to check out On the Waterfront if you've never seen it, especially for Marlon Brando's performance. I don't want to dive into it too much because I know a lot of you probably haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil anything. But that's why Marlon Brando for On the Waterfront is coming in at number 5.
Yeah, it's funny because I've never seen that movie, but even I know how great he is in that movie because people always talk about his performance in that one. And also the fact that he won against all of those gladiators, man, like of actors. Oh
these
my gosh.
titans of acting from back in the day. I mean, it's just like, even if you've never seen On the Waterfront, you know the line, I could have been a contender. And that scene, oh my God, if you've never seen anything from the movie, but you've seen that scene, it is just a perfect snapshot of how good his performance is in that movie.
I will watch that movie eventually because it's a true classic film that's shown everywhere. Like posters, clips are played all the time. Even like last year, they played a clip of it in one of my Cinemark theaters because they were playing the movie again. I should have taken the opportunity to go and watch it, but I know how big of a deal that movie is.
All right, Tyler, hit me with your number 4.
Okay, this is where things get really tricky. Even though I know what my last 4 are, it was hard putting them in their spots. So
sure, yeah, absolutely.
For number 4, I'm going to cheat just a little bit.
Oh,
just
cheating.
a little bit. Just a
Whoa.
little bit. I'll tell you which one is my favorite, though, out of the 2. Okay, so in 2010, a lot of great movies came out. A lot of great movies. In 2011, if things had gone a little bit differently, this list would be very different. Very different. But coming in at number 4, it's kind of a two-way tie with Aaron Sorkin's screenplay for The Social Network and also The Social Network score.
Yeah. I get it.
They're two great things, but the one that comes out on top for me is Sorkin's screenplay because
that is one of the best screenplays of all time.
Exactly. It might be the best screenplay of all time. The Social Network is a movie I'm hooked from start to finish. Like literally hooked from start to finish just because of the words and the dialogue. There's no movie like it. And that's why that comes out on top. Even though the score is great, that's one of the best scores I've ever heard too by...
Right. Well, and it was the first time that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross really jumped on the scene for movie scores. They got this huge recognition and now they're titans of the film score industry. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think you and me both. I mean, those guys are in our top 5.
They're in my top 3.
Top 3. Might even be top 3 for me too. I mean, that is just a fantastic and very unique score.
Completely enhances the movie. But I gotta agree with you. Giving it to Sorkin for that script. I mean, oh my God, I could eat that thing up. It is still his best script, and it's such a shame that the movie didn't win Best Picture. Although Part of me wishes Inception would have won that year, but
Yes.
part of me wishes The Social. I was really torn that year between both those films, and neither of them won.
Yeah, I just wanted Fincher to win Best Director.
Oh yeah,
really
Oh,
badly.
yeah.
But just real quick, going back to Sorkin too. It's funny because he just had Molly's Game come out, last year, and that was a great screenplay. And even though I would put that as one of my least favorite of his screenplays, it's still a phenomenal screenplay.
Oh.
Like, he does not write bad movies.
Yeah, he doesn't. He does not write bad. Let's just put it that way,
Yeah.
just in general.
No, yeah, and that's why I had to go with it. It's just it's such a good script.
All right, now coming in at number 4 for me, I wonder if this one is going to make your list. You might have another win from this movie, but this one really hit home for me as an editor myself. Just seeing this man win for best editing was just astounding, because not only was he recognized by his peers for his work, but he was recognized by the entire Academy, and I think is by and large one of the best edited films I've ever seen, up there with most recently Baby Driver, and that is Tom Cross for Whiplash. This is one of my favorite wins of all time. It is just so well deserving. I mean, you want to talk about a man who's just owns the category here. We've got American Sniper that was nominated, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, and Whiplash. Tell me, out of those films, which one has the best editing? It's hands down Whiplash. And the fact that he won, it just made me so happy, because it felt like they were truly honoring the person who deserved to win. And you go back and you watch Whiplash, and it's such a punchy film. The way the musical sequences are edited, the entire film is a masterclass on how to properly edit a film. It's mind-blowing. I love this movie from start to finish, and one of the key reasons for that is the editing. And to see Tom Cross honored for that made me so very happy, and he's one of my inspirations as an editor myself. So very, very pleased with his win there.
That is the one nomination that just missed out. I mean, I almost put that, win. Sorry, not nomination. That is the one win that I almost put on my list, just because, like you said, it's one of the best edited movies I've ever seen, and I vividly remember when Whiplash won Best Editing. I was shocked that it won.
Oh, my God,
I was so happy though, because he totally deserved it.
All right, now time to move into number 3. Tyler, what do you got?
Okay, so for my number 3, I'm kind of cheating, I guess, but
again, wow, you're cheating twice here.
Not really. Okay, I'm not really cheating. Again, I'll tell you which one is my favorite. The reason why I'm putting this guy at number 3 is because he's probably my favorite cinematographer working in Hollywood right now, and that's Emmanuel Lubezki.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
There was a period of 3 years from 2013 to 2015 where he won the Oscar every single year, each year in a row, which was insane. Yeah. I mean, it's insane. For Gravity, Birdman, then The Revenant. But I got to give it to him for The Revenant, because...
Wow, over Birdman, that's... Because him for Birdman just barely missed my list as well.
Well, I almost put that one, but The Revenant's one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen, one of the most well-shot movies I've ever seen. And that's one of the things that kind of enhanced the experience for me whenever I watched it back in 2015. When I first saw it for the first time, it was just visually mind-blowing, and he's just a very impressive cinematographer, man. I mean, to win it back-to-back 3 years in a a it's very impressive. And I'm always interested in what he's doing.
For sure. I mean, he has such a distinct style, and whether he's working with, Alejandro Iñárritu, Alfonso Cuarón, I mean, his movies just... They are just something to behold. I love his cinematography in The Prisoner of Azkaban, especially because it helps that movie have a unique identity. It's not only Lubezki, though. I mean, it is Cuarón, but Lubezki plays such a key part in making that movie stand out from the rest in the series. Yeah,
because he's creating, like, not to get too cheesy, but he's creating like a portal into the world.
God, really.
Even before, like you were saying, even before The Revenant, Birdman, and Gravity, like you said, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, one of my favorite shot movies of all time. Then Sleepy Hollow, and just a lot of other movies you wouldn't expect him to be a part of that he was. So he's just really talented guy overall.
No, for sure. But yeah, I mean, like you said, he had that window of time where he was just like back to back to back to back to back, and it was just like all well deserving. Me personally, like I said, would have picked Birdman, but I can't really argue with Revenant, especially because of the use of all natural light. I mean, it was incredible what they were able to pull off.
Yeah, and then Gravity, of course. I mean, just a little recognition for that movie. I mean, that's just a technical achievement. That whole movie is just a technical achievement.
Should have won the Oscar that year.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. But just a really, really talented guy.
All right, now my number 3. Well, Tyler, I wonder if this movie's going to make your list, or this win is going to make your list, because I know you love this director, and I know you love his writing. So theoretically, in my mind, it makes your list. But my number 3 is Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary for Best Original Screenplay for Pulp Fiction.
Unfortunately, it didn't make my list. I didn't see that ceremony back in 1995, but I contemplated putting one. I was either going to put that one or Inglourious Bastards because I love both of them.
You know, when you look at the nominees this year, we've got Pulp Fiction, Bullets Over Broadway, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Heavenly Creatures, and Red. Do you remember any of those other movies?
Only Heavenly Creatures, but that's because I just watched it recently.
I mean, for me, I had 4 Weddings and a Funeral. I just
that one too. I've seen that one too, but I mean, going up against Pulp Fiction, I mean...
Oh my God, what a titan in the category. I mean, you know, and just to see Quentin Tarantino, like, win his first really big award, it's just the sign of what's to come for this man. And it was a perfect film to showcase just Quentin Tarantino in general and his writing and everything about him. Because, you know, Reservoir Dogs is great, and it's a very Tarantino-esque movie, but the writing in Pulp Fiction... You look at that one, and then you look at his most recent film, like The Hateful Eight, or you look at Django Unchained, and the writing in Pulp Fiction is more in line with those movies than Reservoir Dogs. And so just to kind of see how he's progressed as not only a director, but a writer, it all started there with Pulp Fiction. And this win is just awesome because, truthfully, the movie... probably should have won Best Picture, if I'm being honest, over Forrest Gump.
It's tough, though, because you had Shawshank come out that year. That was such a tough year, man, that entire...
Well, right, yeah, that's true.
But maybe he could have won for Best Director, because I would say Pulp Fiction is the most Tarantino-esque movie he's ever made.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And so it was just really nice to see him win something for the film, and especially, you know, Tarantino, it's like directing, writing, and Best Picture are the 3 main categories when it comes to him. I mean, acting, of course, too, but just particularly Tarantino, those are the 3 main categories that he continuously seems to get nominated for when he makes stuff, and for him to not only be nominated, but win for Pulp Fiction, just to see Pulp Fiction get some sort of recognition was just fucking awesome, because that movie is so good.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie. I just watched it I watch that movie at least once or sometimes twice a year.
I mean, the rewatchability factor is so high.
Yeah. Going back to amazing scripts, just like Sorkin's The Social Network, I would put Tarantino's Pulp Fiction up there with like the top 10 best scripts ever.
All right, moving on to number 2, getting close to the top there. Tyler, what do you got?
Okay, so this number 2, you're going to think it's kind of an oddball choice. The only reason I picked it is because I have never been this nervous watching an Oscar ceremony and thinking of who's going to win. It was Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea.
Wow, that's one of your favorite wins. Okay.
Yeah, because not only is his performance in that movie just one of my favorite performances in the past probably 10 years, probably of all time. I think he's excellent in that movie, but I honestly had no idea who was going to win that award because he had those allegations against him, and Denzel won the SAG award, and we have never seen an actor win the Oscar over someone who won the SAG award in a long time. To me, that was a huge victory because, like I said, the performance is just one of my personal favorites of all time, probably. And I was so happy to see him finally win it. And if this Oscar ceremony had happened this year, there's no way he would have been winning that award. So,
no, I don't even know if he'd be nominated. And I mean, he just kind of really slid in there at the right moment in time. But truth be told, you know, separating the art from the artist here, he gave a masterclass in nuanced and subtle acting. I mean, it's something that I feel like people will study in acting school and film school. Just the kind of performance that he gave. It was so unlike anything else that year. It just blew me away, and I get why he won. It really it was a no-brainer there for me.
Yeah, and I love that movie in general too. I almost actually put Kenneth Lonergan's win for Best Original Screenplay in my list too, because that again is probably one of my favorite screenplays of all time. I really love that movie, and his performance honestly makes it for me. I think he's just so good. It does.
Yeah, and especially the encounter between him and Michelle Williams.
People are already like talking about classic scenes in that movie that are going to be remembered as classic scenes just because of how powerful his performance was and her performance too. I mean,
that just kind of going off here on a tangent, but that scene is just, oh my God, it felt so real. Like viscerally real. I almost broke down watching it.
Yeah, dude, it's just a very depressing movie, but it's so fun to watch though at the same time.
So coming in at number 2 for me is probably, truth be told, tied with my number 1, but I had to rank them, and obviously my number 1 I just feel is just universally should be considered the best.
Yeah.
But number 2 for me, I picked Heath Ledger for The Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good pick. I didn't even think of that one. That's a really great pick, man.
His posthumous win, and I will say this, even if he hadn't tragically passed away, I still think he would have won because of how revolutionary that performance was as the Joker. And let's just take a look at who he's going up here, because he went up against some solid performances too. He went up against Josh Brolin for Milk, Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder, which still blows my mind that he secured a nomination.
That's another thing that would not happen today.
That would not happen today. But
that is so great. I'm so happy that happened, though.
I know. Just the fact that Robert Downey Jr. was nominated, probably one of my favorite Oscar nominations in history.
Yes. Oh, yeah, me too.
Philip Seymour Hoffman for Doubt, and then Michael Shannon for Revolutionary Road. This is a stacked category, and Heath Ledger comes out on top. So deserving. His performance is one of the most memorable performances in history. He changed the way we perceive the Joker today. I mean, we looked at the Joker and we're like, oh, he's this jovial, maniacal psychopath, much in the same vein as Jack Nicholson, because that's all we had seen on the big screen up until that point. And Ledger just delved into that character, and the character is someone that's so fascinating. I think Nolan, his whole story that he tells throughout the course of that, the Joker is such a critical part of it, and the way Ledger went about portraying the insanity, the realism, and the fact that we don't know who this guy is. We have no idea about anything regarding the Joker other than the fact that he just is an anarchist and he wants to show the world the worst parts of them. You go back and you look at the behind the scenes stuff surrounding Ledger and Nolan in The Dark Knight, and you look at how seriously Heath Ledger took the role and what he did in order to become the character. Much like what Marlon Brando did with his method acting, Heath Ledger became the Joker. And I don't think we'll really ever see another comic book villain performance like this for a very long time. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but it's a performance for the ages. And then I also have to note, it's great to see that a comic book film was honored at the Academy Awards in a major way, in an acting category. I don't know if we'll ever see that again, to be honest.
No, I really don't. I mean, it's been 10 years now since that movie came out?
Yes, it has been 10 years.
Exactly
now.
10 years. And no one has come close to what Ledger did in that movie. No. I mean, he obviously makes for me at least, he makes the movie. If you take him out, another actor, the movie would not be nearly as good. To me at least. I mean, people would disagree, but for me, I mean, he's just he feels like a real character. Like, that feels like the Joker. And to this day, when I watch The Dark Knight, I cannot see Heath Ledger. I try my hardest. No, I cannot see him.
It's damn near impossible. That's the thing. No. You look at his previous work and you're like, oh, Heath Ledger, the guy from Brokeback Mountain, the guy from these teenage girl movies, and then you look at him in The Dark Knight and you're like, who is this man? This is not the Heath Ledger that I know. Even his voice, there is not an inkling of Heath Ledger in that performance. It's insane.
Yeah, it's again, I watched the movie not too long ago. I tried really hard. I could not find him. I can never find him. He's that good in the movie, and he deserved to win over all those guys.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Tyler, we're down to the wire here. Number 1. I know what your number 1 is now because we talked about it at the beginning of the episode. I just can't believe that it's your number 1, but go ahead. Reveal to the class what your number 1 is.
I think you're gonna be kind of surprised, man. It's a cliche pick. It's DiCaprio, man, for Best Actor.
What? Oh my God! I thought you were going to go with J.K. Simmons for Whiplash.
See, I almost put him in the list, but he was a lock to me. I knew he was going to win, and even though I was happy he won, but DiCaprio, even though he was kind of a lock, dude, he'd been nominated for so many movies. The Wolf of Wall Street is the one movie where McConaughey was great, but I really think DiCaprio deserved it. To me, that's
I agree.
One of my second favorite performance by him. But me personally, I truly do think The Revenant is his best performance.
Yeah, see, I go back and, like I was mentioning at the beginning, I go back and forth because I think what he did in The Revenant was very physical. There wasn't a whole lot of dialogue in the way he was emoting. I mean, some people would say he was just reacting to the elements and what he was going on. And then some people would counter-argue that with saying, well, isn't acting reacting to things? And so I get the whole argument with everything, but I think just taking both arguments aside, it is still, hands down, one of his best performances, period. I mean, it is a very brutal performance to watch, but going back to what I was originally saying, I go back and forth between The Revenant and The Departed for what I think to be his best performance, because when you look at The Departed and you look at kind of the insanity that goes down in the movie and how it's affecting him mentally, and when he breaks down, there are several scenes there that I'm like, if he were to be nominated, that's the shot that they would play at the Academy Awards. There's so many of those moments in The Departed, and for him not to even be nominated for that film blows my mind. But
that's what I'm saying.
Anyways, getting back to The Revenant.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was not nominated for that. He was nominated for Blood Diamond that year, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Then he was nominated for The Aviator, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Wolf of Wall Street, and then finally The Revenant. I mean, dude, when he finally won that award, he was up on that stage. I could feel the atmosphere of planet Earth rejoicing that he had finally won. It was just
like a collective sigh. Everyone was just like, yes.
Yes, because like that was the whole joke. Like, when's DiCaprio going to win his Oscar? There were so many memes like making fun of him. And
I know, it's like, he eats a bison liver and suffers like hypothermia, and he still doesn't win. Like, before the award ceremony, I remember all that stuff that was going down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just glorious seeing him up there finally winning. And even though a lot of people, like you, I mean, they don't think it's his best performance, it's just real. I think he deserved it. I was so happy to see him win it. I was just really nervous that the Academy would pick Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, who's really good. I mean, he's great in that movie.
See, I don't know. For me, I still think that maybe Fassbender should have won that year because he became Steve Jobs. I mean,
a lot of people think. I mean, you're not alone, dude. A lot of people think that. And that's why I thought he was going to win. I was so nervous because I mean, the Academy had ignored him for so long and given the award to other actors.
Right.
Here he stood finally holding it, his little golden statue.
Yes, finally, a golden statue. But I will say the one performance from The Revenant that I felt should have won, 100% should have won, was Tom Hardy for Best Supporting Actor.
Dude, thinking back on, I can't remember who won that year. Trying to think with The Revenant, but I wanted Tom Hardy to win. I'm pretty sure I was for Tom Hardy to win that award.
Yeah, I was too.
He was excellent.
He did both. He did the physical acting, but then he also had a lot of dialogue to work with, and he was a despicable human being.
I think he was right up there with DiCaprio, like performance-wise.
Oh, I would agree. In some instances, I would say he was a little bit better.
I won't argue with you. I mean, he's really good in the movie. He's great. I think that's probably my favorite Hardy performance. I would say probably the best Hardy performance, just because.
Yes, I would agree with you there.
He becomes that character, that despicable character.
Well, we have one thing in common with our number ones, and they are the fact that the world gave a collective sigh when this person won. And my number one, no brainer, Scorsese for The Departed.
Yeah, that's a really good pick.
It was just like, finally, you guys got it right. You gave the man, a cinema legend who gave us Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The King of Comedy. So many other movies. The guy finally wins. Now, whether or not he should have won for The Departed, that's another conversation to be had. I felt that it is one of his best movies, and he was worthy of a win. But, looking at the other nominees here, we have Alejandro G. Inarritu for Babel. We have Clint Eastwood for Letters from Iwo Jima. Stephen Frears for The King, and Paul Greengrass for United 93.
That is not an easy win, dude.
That's not an easy win. Stacked year, especially Paul Greengrass for United 93, which if you've never seen that movie,
it's so depressing, but it's so good.
I can't believe, it's a hard watch, but it's a really good movie. And a part of me thought that Paul Greengrass would have pulled it out there, but I'm glad that the Academy finally gave it to Scorsese. It was long overdue, and what can I say? It was just the standing ovation, just everything when Scorsese finally up there holding that golden statue. I mean, it felt right,
Yeah, I agree. I think he did deserve it, man. I mean, those movies were great for sure, but I think he deserved it. That to me, that's the best movie that came out that year, and the best directed one too.
I would agree with you. I understand the argument, though, for United 93. I do, because that movie is...
I give it to him second, for sure. Paul Greengrass.
Very powerful. Yeah. He's a close second, but I do agree that Scorsese, hands down, deserved the Oscar that year. The Departed was the best movie that year. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it felt so good to see him finally honored. I mean, this is the man who should have been honored way long ago, especially for Goodfellas. Finally happens. So that's why he's coming in at number one. Yeah,
and The Departed was one I also contemplated putting on mine, but going back to Scorsese, I mean, just again, The Departed just feels like an American movie that is going to be a classic one day. Just an American classic one day.
American crime classic. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It's already on the verge of that, I would say. You know,
yeah.
but a lot of people are aware of it. So anyways, guys, those are our respective top 5 best Oscar wins of all time. Let us know in the comment section what your top 5 best Oscar wins are. There's so many wins out there, and every win means something different for each person. There's so many wins out there, and I can understand why each and every one of them would be on a list, but let us know what your respective 5 are in the comment section below. Tyler, thank you as always for joining me as we continue along this journey of Oscar month.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. These lists are hard to make, but they're fun to talk about.
They really, really are, because there's so many different things you could talk about with each of them. You know, we started talking about Harry Potter in the Prisoner of Azkaban. We spiraled into a Harry Potter conversation somehow. So it's kind of funny how these conversations could just lead into just about anything.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's so fun. And realistically, we could do one of these videos every single day, but that would just take up so much time.
It would be, we don't got time for that. But anyways, Tyler, go ahead and plug yourself. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Just search Tyler Tompkins, and I should be probably the first person that pops up.
Yeah, probably. I would go out there and say that. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And guys, as always, if you like this video, be sure to like it, share with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more movie reviews, more movie-related content, and more Oscar month content. We've got more videos coming your way throughout the month of February, so stay tuned. You can also like Men vs. Movies on Facebook and follow us on Twitter simply by searching Men v Movies. And lastly, guys, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can always give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, that'll do for this video, guys. And until next time, take care.